Hello, everybody. Scott Golden with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube audio channel here and the @PO Perception Twitter account. If you're new here, please subscribe, join us, have a common ground value, and give your comments. Today, we're going to talk about worry and how to deal with it, what causes it, how to handle it differently or separately than one normally would, and all of those things that ultimately lead you to not have to worry as much, no pun intended. So worry is a root core negative emotion that has to do with our primal need to stay alive and our primal need to feel safe, secure, or to create security for ourselves. Unfortunately, worry, when it is fixated upon, can become an addiction-related behavior, which leads to anxiety. And so how does one handle worry in a meaningful way? And the answer to that is you must be able to understand that worry is the absence or the belief in the absence of control. Every time that you are in worry, you are believing, falsely or correctly, that you do not have control. However, there are virtually no circumstances in the world where you don't have control over your focus, you don't have control over the meaning you give to your focus, or you don't have control over the actions you take. Now, there are very few, less than 1% exceptions to that. For example, if you're a hostage or if you're a child who has to follow certain regulations so as not to get arrested, or even an adult who's trying to remain within the bounds of legalities. However, 99% of the time, you do have a choice on the actions you take. And so the misnomer of I am worried because someone else is going to act a certain way and I've lost control of what they do, or I've lost control of how they see me, or I'm going to lose certain levels of professionalism or certain levels of perspective or certain levels of influence over a person. Usually all of that comes down to the fear of loss. So all worry is the fear of loss. Now there's ways to break that down and make things a whole lot simpler and more easy for yourself. And one of the things you have to do is go, okay, what am I truly afraid of or fearing? What am I worried about? And if you know that it's loss, say a couple of things to yourself. How can I refocus on something I can control? Is there anything in this situation that I can control or change? And if there isn't, how can I refocus my thoughts, my energy, my actions to get me through this moment? You know, most often, clients who are struggling with worry, it's because they have rules and regulations internally, habitual patterns of behavior that aren't working for them and haven't for a very long time. And most of those rules go unspoken. It goes something like, if they really appreciated me at work, they would. If my partner really appreciated me, he or she would. If my kids really valued all that I do for them, they would. And there's a whole bunch of rules, regulations, and patterns around that. However, these individuals have the same basic thought about you. That is, if you behaved in a certain way and valued them, then you would. And therefore, it becomes whose would or whose should or whose ought to gets the control. And most of the time, misunderstandings come down to the expectation that someone should already know how you feel, how you think, what your focus is, what matters to you, what you expect them to do, how you expect them to behave. And the worry of loss of control is that this person doesn't care, that this person is inconsiderate, that this person cares about something else or someone else more than you. And all of these recipes for worry can be averted in taking different actions. The pattern of asking powerful questions when one is able to, even in social situations such as social anxiety, is useful. In other words, asking when you're feeling better in a socially anxious situation from someone that you admire or at least respect, hey, what do you like about me? What am I really good at? Where is my strength? What is the best part of me. If you can kind of put that into alignment and have a conversation about that particular series of topics, it's then that you begin to understand that you have true, complete value. Worry usually happens because we're focusing on something that in the moment we feel we can't change. Now, finding a creative outlet is another valuable way to ultimately keep things going in a positive direction. What is that creative outlet? That could be something like music, that could be something like writing, that could be something like performance art, that could be something like journaling, that could be any number of creative outlets. Also, exercise is great for worry because you cannot be in a place of forward motion and worry at the same time. Meaning, if you're focused on improving something in your life, you can't be worried at the same exact moment. The mind doesn't work that way. The centers of the brain that deal with both of these things are at opposite points of attraction. And so if you're really trying to create a recipe against worry, one of the things that it is essential for you to do is become more physically active. Also, short bursts of energy can be helpful. So something as simple as throwing as many shadow boxing punches as you can in a minute, or doing jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups, or other aerobic exercises, even squeezing a stress ball as hard as you can until your emotions change or you feel the stress and tension leave your body can be helpful. Now, when you begin to do this, it can be somewhat overwhelming because you might have to do it several times in an hour or several times throughout the day to begin to redirect your mind. But here's the thing. The neuroplasticity, in other words, the adaptation ability of the human brain is unlimited, which means every behavior, including negative emotion and worry, can be unlearned. Now, usually what happens, and most people don't realize it, is they've learned to be anxious, they've learned to be worrisome, they've learned to be concerned and fret because of what they put into their body, who they surround themselves with, or learned behaviors from childhood that ultimately come forward in adulthood. If a parent is prone to anxiety and worry, we are more likely to be same. If a person is certainly prone to making rash decisions and then having someone point things out to them about how foolish they are or how unintelligent their decision was, then the ability to make strong decisions is same. Social anxiety or worry about what other people think can be alleviated by one simple thought. And here's the facts on that. One of the things that people need to realize and recognize is that the average person doesn't think nearly as much about you as you think they do because they're too busy thinking about, check this out, what you're thinking about them. Because most of us are so wrapped up in the ego where we edge God or we edge globalism if you're an atheist or a agnostic or person who doesn't believe in a higher power, we can say edge God or edge globalism. In other words, a global unity or a global consciousness out. And when we do that, what we're really doing is we're saying it's about me. It's about me. It's about what I think or what's being thought about me or what's being said about me or what people value me or how they value me. It's not about anything other than me. And the majority of people, especially when they're socially uncomfortable or socially awkward or doubt their own impact to be able to make friends or high levels of impact, they think it's all about them. And so what happens is most of us who are socially uncomfortable in a situation think that someone is thinking about us, when in reality they're only thinking about where we could be of benefit to them if we were thinking of them in a positive way. Another thing to think about when it comes to worry is worrying about what you've done in the past is completely, utterly ineffective and useless. And the reason for that is the past is dead. It cannot be changed. It cannot be altered. And fixating upon it will not change what has already happened. The future is the power of co-creation, and every second that you're in was the last second's future. And so being present moment minded makes one less prone to worry, because the only thing that we can truly control or manipulate or have an influence over the outcome of is present moment mindedness and the present moment. And so, if we want the absence of worry, we also have to be willing to become students of those who are doing, saying, being, or becoming what we want to be or have a desire to become. In other words, the more we study, whether it's reading, whether it's audio, tracks like this, whether it's music, whether it's going to seminars, workshops, working with a coach, working with someone to further one's career, whatever you study, if you can become an expert in one thing in modern society and package it properly, you will have a place in the world. So the big thing that you have to think about to avoid worry is, where can I be an expert to gain my confidence? Another thing to think about when one is dealing with the issue of worry in general is the realities that most people are willing to let you get away with, and when I say get away with, I don't mean in a negative context, but slip on certain aspects as long as they can see a human side to you. So the more relatable you are, the more comfortable and conversational you are about whatever it is that you need to say or what you need to accomplish, provided you haven't put anyone in danger, tripping over your words or saying something and going back and correcting yourself. The majority of people have been in that situation before. They understand it, they can relate to it. The more relatable you are, the less judged you are. Another factor to consider is the reality that worry steals your progress every time. Because when you're spending the time worrying, and time is a limited quantity, we all have the same 86,400 seconds every day. We all have the same 365.4 days in a year. We all have the same, or 0.25 days in a year. We all have the same length of time. And so every second spent in worry is a missed opportunity. Every second spent in worry is a missed social connection, a missed job opportunity, a missed opportunity to create the next big thing. And so when you give to worry, it's the same as throwing your time out the window. So the things you value, and the more you spend time with the things you value, the easier it becomes to take control back of your life. Because what the question becomes for anyone who's really committed to the process is, what am I trying to accomplish? What am I aiming to accomplish? And do I feel that I have the ability in the now to do exactly that? Or am I limiting myself by the negative connotations of the emotions that I have that are holding me back from the progress that I desire to make? Realize, too, that worry also comes from another misnomer, and that is that you cannot recover. When you have a recovery mindset, when you confront within yourself your worst case scenario, your worst fear, and you have a solution for it, worry will dissipate. In other words, what would I do if I became terminally ill or had struggles? What would I do if I lost my job? What would I do if my significant other left me? If you have compelling answers to those questions when you're in a good space and you can believe in the story of what you would do in the worst case scenario, worry becomes less, because then you begin to see yourself as capable of responding to any circumstance. And when you're capable of responding to any circumstance, that means you won't be caught off guard. The more empowered you feel to feel that you can make the proper decisions or the progressive decisions when you need to make a positive change in your own life, the easier it will be to determine where to go next, what to do next. Now, this has been Scott Golden with Golden Opportunities Coaching. Once again, comment, rate, subscribe. Put in the comments below, what are you struggling with right now? What do you most worry about? How would you like to change that in your life? And follow us on Twitter at PO Perception. I encourage you, keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.